What is up? Welcome to this live edition of Couz's Corner here on this Sunday evening. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Couz's Corner, the home of top shelf college sports news and analysis surrounding the West Virginia Mountaineers and the Big 12. This is where you will get objective analysis from a fan's perspective. That's what we do here at Couz's Corner. So thank you for joining this live show on this Sunday night. We're going to talk a little PFF grades tonight on the show. Talk about the major questions that are still out there regarding this West Virginia Mountaineer team. And, what, if anything, can they do to fix some of these issues? And that's just what we're here to talk about. It's going to be a pretty informal show here. Just going to chat with you guys. And the West Virginia Athletics did get some good news today, and it came in the form of basketball. They did get a verbal commitment from a really good basketball player. We're going to talk about that here on the show as well. We'll talk about that in the second half. First off, let's talk about the football team. Let's talk about, obviously, we know if you caught most of you probably caught my post-game reaction show after West Virginia's 41-10 shellacking by Kansas at Kansas, right? We all saw it. It was ugly, not good. And there are a lot of questions remaining. And Rich Rod himself knows that, so it's nothing new. But let's go ahead and talk about the first question that I want to get to, and let's talk about the quarterback position. Now, when you look at the PFF grades from the game, West Virginia, first off, before we get to the quarterback position, let's just look at the overall PFF grades from this team. They are regressing in some areas, okay? Now, maybe the level of competition is going up. You could argue that too, so that might play a part in this, but let's just look at their PFF grades. Overall, as a team, their lowest grade of the season with a 56.2. Overall, as a football team, 56.2, which is well below average. First game this season as a team, they've been below average. Even in the Ohio game, they graded out at 73.4, primarily because of the defense grading out so well, but the defense did not even have that good of a game in this one. Now, offensively, West Virginia graded out at a 53. They graded out at 47.5 in the pass game, 38.3 in pass blocking, which is horrendous, 57.3 receiving grade, 66.8 run grade, 51.5 in run blocking grade, 60 in defense, overall defensive grade, 54.7 run defense grade, 51.3 tackling grade, which is, again, the worst of the season. Worst of the season in a lot of areas. 61.2 pass rush grade, worst of the season. 67.5 coverage grade, which is actually the best one or second best of the season so far. And then 64.7 special teams grade, which is second to last worst. They actually graded out worse against Pitt, believe it or not, in special teams. Let's go ahead and talk about the game specifically. Let's go ahead and talk about the quarterback position, like I mentioned. Let's go ahead and look at Nico Markell, Jalen Henderson, the only two quarterbacks to throw a pass in this game. Only 4 dropbacks for Jalen. He was 2 of 4 for 16 yards, 4 yards per attempt, 73.3 overall grade. Offensively, 51.6 passing grade, 74.3 run grade, so that's a positive. 71.1 fumble grade, which he didn't fumble, so I'm not sure where that comes from. Nico Markell, 30 dropbacks, 27 pass attempts, 15 completions, 55.6% completion percentage, 126 yards, only 4.7 yards per attempt. They were not able to get anything downfield, in large part because they did not have time because of the terrible pass blocking by this team in that game. Now, we'll talk about that in a little bit more here in a minute. Nico's overall grade was a 50.2. You cannot have your starting quarterback at a 50.2 PFF grade. Can't do it. Pass grade, 48.7. Can't have that either. 59.4 run grade, 69.8 fumble grade, whatever the heck that means. Nico had 3 turnover-worthy plays in 30 dropbacks, but 0 big-time throws. So he had no big-time throws, which are, several yards down the field accurately, but 3 turnover-worthy plays. Now, he didn't turn it over. Well, he did have the 1 interception. I'll take it back. He had the 1 interception, also had 2 batted balls, no drops. His receivers dropped no balls. He was pressured 11 times overall in 30 dropbacks. That's not a winning formula, folks. You cannot be pressured a third of the time you drop back to pass if you want to win football games. He was sacked twice, a pressure to sack percentage of 18%, so that's not terrible. and he had 2.45 seconds to throw the football on average. Not good. Not good at all. He had one scramble and one first down. Just not a good game by Nico. Now, some of that you can blame on the offensive line. Some of it you can blame on him. He was, I talked about it in the postgame show. He was slow to make some reads, it looked like at times, slow to make some decisions. There were times he should have pulled it a lot quicker than he did. He just seems hesitant at times. I'm not sure why. Again, he might be a little bit gun shy because he doesn't trust what he sees, because he knows. If I can imagine being a quarterback, I played a little bit of quarterback in high school, not much. I wasn't good at it, but I do have a somewhat of at least a modicum of a feeling of what it's like to have guys running at you, and it's not easy. It's a very hard position. That's why I wasn't good at it. The way my brain processes information, I cannot play quarterback. So maybe that makes me not, qualified to sit here and judge, but I got a YouTube channel. So what am I supposed to do? Right. But anyway, I can imagine when you have an offensive line that's struggling, it would cause you rather to be a little bit gun shy, or maybe not trust what's in front of you or trust what you're seeing. And I think that's what's going on right now with Nico potentially. He's got something. He's not obviously he has no reason to trust his O-line, especially the right side of the O-line, which we'll talk about more in depth here in a minute. But he's got to try to let that go and start making decisions quicker. But that's why, in my opinion, I think, and it ain't all Nico's fault, but I think with O-line struggling the way they are, especially if you're not able to get Ty Edwards back and get some semblance of a run game, you have got to put a quarterback in the game that can run the football. Because when you look at let's go ahead and look at the run. Let's go ahead and talk about run grades in the game. Let's go ahead and pull that up. Best run grade on the team, Jalen Henderson. Had an overall grade of 73.3, 74.3 run grade. Second best was Khalil Wilkins, who was a backup quarterback. Now, he only played 9 snaps, but in 82.3 offensive grade, 73.1 run grade. Dior Hubbard, the running back, 68.9 run grade. He actually averaged 5.3 yards per carry the 4 snaps he played and the 3 attempts he had. Maybe Dior Hubbard needs to get some more snaps. Maybe you give Dior Hubbard a shot back there, Coach Rod. I don't know why he's not been getting the ball, not been getting in games. Maybe his blocking is not good. Maybe he doesn't know the offense well enough. I'm not sure. Sincere Bowers, 6 snaps, 64.8 overall grade. 62.8 run grade. Nico, run grade of 59.4. Clay Ash, 55.3. Tyler Jacklich, 53 running grade. But he did average 4.5 yards a carry, which was the 3rd best on the team fifth best, behind Henderson, Wilkins, Hubbard, Singleton. Worst yards per carry were Sincere Bowers and Clay Ash. Sincere Bowers averaged 1.3 yards per carry. Clay Ash averaged 1.7. Nico averaged 2, so not much better. So maybe it's time to give some of these other guys a shot at running back if Ty Edwards can't go. Maybe it's time to give Dior Hubbard more snaps. Maybe it's time to give Tyler Jacklich more snaps. Now, he did have that fumble. I get it. But you could see he was distraught over it. I think he'll learn from it. Maybe you give him more snaps. He's a big back who has some athleticism. And when, again, your O-line struggling, you've got somebody that can break tackles at the line of scrimmage and not be brought down with an arm tackle. If you get a big back, or at least a back there that can run the ball a little bit, along with a running quarterback, I think it opens up so many more opportunities for this offense, even with a struggling offensive line, because you can kind of work around some of your offensive line struggles of some of the run game, especially with the quarterback position. That's why I would love to see one of these other quarterbacks get a shot. By the way, for those of you watching on X, I'm going to ask that you please come over to YouTube after the show's over and check out the rest of my shows if you haven't done so. You can check out my previous live streams, my previous on-demand videos. You can subscribe to my channel over there and help me get closer to 10,000. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up button. It really helps that YouTube algorithm. I would really appreciate it. And if you are watching on YouTube and you want to make sure I see and address your comment, you can drop a super chat by hitting the $sign near the chat box. It'll highlight your comment. It will alert me of your comment, and I'll be sure to address it. May not get to it immediately, but I will get to it. So, moral of the story at quarterback for me, anyway. Even though I still think Nico's the best thrower of the football, I think when you look at the totality of this offense, you have got to give somebody else a shot. I think you need to give Jalen Henderson. He's the most experienced guy in the room of the other guys. He's a senior. He's played in the SEC before. He has been in there when bullets are flying, so to speak. No pun intended. Probably a bad metaphor to use right now, honestly. But anyway, you get my point. He's been in there when things are tough against SEC competition. So I think you give him the nod, assuming he practices hard and does what he's supposed to do, which we all assume he does, because he has been getting snaps. And I'm not saying you throw Nico to the curb and never play him again, but I think you've got to do something to try to give this offense a spark. And I think putting Jalen Henderson at quarterback is the first thing you do to help with that. And if Ty Edwards can't go, then I think you give Dior Hubbard a shot at running back. If Sincere Bowers is not going to get it done, if Clay Ash is not going to get it done, and so far they've not shown that they can, why not give Dior Hubbard a shot? You know, that's what I would do. Why not give Dior Hubbard a shot? All right. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some other positions. Let's go ahead and talk about that offensive line. I kind of touched on running back, right? I talked about quarterback and running back. Let's go ahead and talk about the offensive line a little bit and look at some blocking grades. Nick Cray played a good football game. Run blocking, well, he played highest blocking grade on the entire team overall. No, never mind. I was getting ready to misspeak. Highest pass blocking grade on the team overall was Nick Cray at 78.3. Gave up only one QB hurry, no sacks, no hits on the quarterback. Clay Ash was your second best. Maybe this explains some things. Clay Ash was the second best pass blocker on the team in this game with a 77.5 pass blocking grade. Maybe that's why he's in the game. If your offensive line is struggling to block people, maybe you put somebody in the backfield that can help you. Clay Ash was that guy in this game, 77.5, but that's only 4 pass blocking snaps. It's a small sample size. Let's look at the rest of the O-line. Let's look at Landon Livingston, who unfortunately went out in the game. Did play 32 offensive snaps, about a little less than half of the snaps. Had a 62.3 overall grade, a 66.9 run blocking grade, and a 63.5 pass blocking grade. Not great. It's above average, just above average, basically. Walter Youngbear, 55.2 overall grade, 53.7 run blocking grade, and 56.8 pass blocking grade. Not good. Below average. Tykeus Crawford, your right tackle. Man, this just looks ugly. 41.3 offensive grade. 43.1 run blocking grade. 38.6 pass blocking grade. And, oh, by the way, it gets worse. Carson Lee, the backup center who came in for Livingston and played 41 snaps. 63.8 overall grade, that's not bad, and 68.8 in run blocking. So he actually graded out slightly higher than Landon Livingston in the run blocking, but in the pass blocking, negative. 22.6 pass blocking grade by Carson Lee. Can't do it. Now Kimo Makaniole, your right guard. Poor Kimo Makaniole. I actually kind of feel bad for the guy. 73 snaps. 45.1 overall offensive grade. 47.9 in run blocking, which was actually slightly better than Tykeus Crawford. But his pass blocking grade, 19.8. And according to a post earlier today on X by Josh Wolf, former contributor over at SI, he is one of the worst, has one of the lowest pass blocking grades in the country. And I think he has one of the lowest overall grades in the country, if I remember correctly from reading Josh's post. And let's dig a little deeper. And I don't want to bury this guy. You know what? I'm not even going to spend a ton of time on it. I think that speaks for itself. He gave up 2 hits on the quarterback and 2 pressures. And graded out at 19.8 in pass blocking on 73 offensive snaps, 34 of those in pass blocking situations, so almost half. The right side of this offensive line continues to struggle. Now, the left side of the line's not, breaking any records, but they're actually playing decent football. Nick Cray, 56.6 and 78.3. Again, that 56.6 is not good, but at least his pass blocking was okay. But the right side of the line has got to improve. At least you got a left-handed quarterback, right? But the problem is they're having to roll Nico out, and I heard this on 3 Guys, I think, today. They're having to get Nico out of the – he can't sit back in the pocket because he's going to get killed back there. So they're having to roll him out more, which does what? It cuts off half the field. That means you only have half the field to work with, which takes away a lot of your options on the offensive side of the ball. It's not a good recipe for success long term. And they tried that last night and had a little bit of success with it. But Kansas eventually caught up to it and started stopping that too. And then, there were some missed throws by Nico. There were some guys who didn't get open when they should have. Multiple reasons. But the O-line is absolutely – and why they will not substitute on the O-line is baffling to me. I just don't understand it. Surely to goodness, there is somebody in that room that can block better than what's been happening in the first 4 games. I mean, come on, man. I'm going to read these pass block grades again. 19.8, 22.6, 38.6, 56.8, 63.5, and 78.3. As you go left, it gets better. The reason I read off 6 is because of the Landon Livingston injury. Carson Lee came in. Then you look at Grayson Barnes, the tight end. He had 4 pass block snaps. Not many, but he only graded out at 21, so he didn't help you out a ton either. He gave up a hit, a QB hit, and a pressure. I mean, your best pass blockers were Nick Cray, Clay Ash, Sincere Bowers, and Tyler Jackledge. 3 of your top 4 pass blockers were running backs. Before you get to another O-lineman, Ryan Ward's there with only 1 snap, and then you get Landon Livingston, who's another O-lineman at center at 63.5. You can't have it. Cannot have it. And then with run blocking, you've got Carson Lee, 68.8, was the highest on the team, actually. Landon Livingston, 66.9. Justin's, let me look at other linemen. Your perimeter blocking wasn't terrible. Justin Smith-Brown had a 62.2. Cyrus Traw had a 61.8 in 9 snaps. I didn't even realize he played last night. Grayson Barnes had a 61.7. Cam Vaughn, 61.5. Jarrell Williams, 60.7. Oren Singleton, 60. Your best run blockers were your wide receivers. Man, this is crazy. You got to get all the way down to number my gosh, 20 before you get to an O-lineman at Nick Cray with 56.6 run blocking grade. This is baffling. Your top 19 run blockers were running backs, tight ends, a quarterback, some quarterbacks, and wide receivers. Other than your backup center. Your backup center was top of the list. Then your 2 centers were top of the list, but then you had to go all the way to number 20 to get to your next one at 56.6. Walter Youngbear was a 53.7. Unbelievable. Macanaiole 47.9 and Crawford a 43.1. Again, the two worst were your two starting right side offensive linemen. Those, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if it's miscommunication. But Jack McNeil's going to have to get these guys performing better. That's all there is to it. Did Rich Rod hire the wrong offensive line coach? That's a fair question right now because they are not getting better. They don't appear, at least. Now, I'm not an offensive line expert, and I didn't even stay at the Holiday Inn Express last night. But you can see it on when watching the game or seeing the highlights. There's something going on there. Miscommunications, missed assignments, something. Because guys are running free to the quarterback without even being touched on multiple occasions in that game last night. What is up with that? If these guys can't do it, why not try somebody else? I fussed at Neil Brown for years about not holding guys accountable. Hold somebody accountable, for crying out loud. Put their hind end on the bench. Give me a break. And if they don't improve by the end of the year, you go out and find another offensive line coach somewhere. Because we can't. 3 of these guys are seniors. We could be doing this again next year, potentially. Youngbear, Macaniole, and Crawford are all seniors. It just so happens those are the 3 that are probably performing, the 3 bottom worst performers so far, to be honest. So at least Cray and Livingston should be back next year. Heck, I think Carson Lee's even a senior. Your backup center. Give some of these younger guys a shot. It can't be much worse than one of the 300 out of I think there's like 304 guards or offensive linemen in America, or the guards in America, and he's at like number 300. It can't get much worse than that. Put somebody else in. And I'm not trying to bash this one young man. I mean, I'm really just using him as an example. Try somebody else, man. Try somebody. I don't understand the thinking. If the backups are that bad, then we got we got even bigger problems to worry about next year. If the backup offensive line are worse than some of these guys, not all of them, but some of them, next year may be worse than this year or as bad. And maybe it sounds like I'm embellishing, but they've either got to do a better job of evaluating guys or a better job of coaching them. And that maybe require you to go find somebody else to do that, because they're not getting the job done. And it's putting your quarterback in a bad spot. And when you don't have a lot of depth at running back, you can't have bad blocking in front of them. When your quarterback play is inconsistent, you've got to have good blocking to make up for it. You can't even get Cam Vaughn the football because you can't block. I'm sorry I'm going on a rant here, man, but these numbers are just astonishing to me. Astonishing. And we haven't even looked at the defense yet, which I'll get to in a minute. But before we do that, I do want to take a second and give a shout out to one of our sponsors here, the good folks over at DraftKings Sportsbook. I will be right back. Both the NFL and college football seasons are in full swing, and every touchdown brings you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Whether you want to bet on NFL games, whether you want to bet on the upcoming West Virginia game, or any other sporting event you want to bet on, you can do it right now at DraftKings Sportsbook. And for new customers, this one's for you. Bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, grab over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Your season starts now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Couz, that's code COUZ, to get $300 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first bet of $5 or more. Plus, over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Do you have a gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday ticket/terms. Limited time offer. All right. Thank you for letting me get through the housekeeping there, and thank you for being patient. I do want to also remind you that I have a call-in show now. It's not a live call-in show, but you can call in and leave me a voicemail, and I will respond to that voicemail, I will respond to the best ones on a show. Call 304-712-9347. You can leave me a voicemail. You can leave me your name and where you're calling from. You can rant if you want to rant. You can ask me a question. Whatever you want to do, leave it in that voicemail, and I will respond to the best ones on a show. And obviously, those folks who are paid VIP channel members will get first priority. So take advantage of that today if you want to be featured on the show. Now, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the defensive side of the ball, and then I'll get to some comments. Let's go over to PFF grades here for defense. First thing I want to take a look at is Jamoy Robinson, because he did play in the game, and I want to see how he did. Jamoy Robinson played 25 total snaps, 11 run defense, 13 pass rush, 1 in coverage. We know he got burned in coverage. 65.2 overall grade, 61.4 run defense grade. Did not have a tackle. 64.6 pass rush grade. 60 coverage grade. Not sure how it was a 60 when he got burned, but it may not have been all his fault either. I don't know the scheme. But nonetheless, he had a decent game considering it was his first game of the year. Coach Ross said he wanted to get him in there for about 25, 30 snaps. He got him in for 25 snaps. So, wasn't a great performance, but wasn't a terrible performance either. Best performer on the day on the defensive side of the ball, no shock, Michael Coach Jr., the cornerback. Played 37 total snaps, 17 of those in pass coverage, 80.8 overall grade, 70.9 run defense grade, 79.2 tackling grade, and a 79.3 coverage grade. Had 4 tackles, 0 missed tackles, 2 stops, which is basically blowing up a play. Was targeted 3 times, gave up 2 receptions, but for only 10 yards. Only 5 yards a catch for a long of 7. Had 1 pass breakup. So a really good day for him. Continues to play well. Shows why they paid him money to not go on a visit, which is what the rumor is. So let's look at some more grades here. Derek Carter Jr. had a pretty good day, but played less snaps, only 19 snaps. He graded out at 79.5 in coverage, 78.2 overall. Let's look at guys who played a decent amount of snaps. Curtis Jones Jr. played 16 snaps, graded out at 71.4. Nate Gabriel, 32 snaps at nose tackle, graded out at 69.3 overall, but only 57.8 in the pass rush. Braden Siders, 30 snaps, graded out at 68, 77.4 tackle grade. Kakor Tarnu had played 47 snaps in the game, graded out at 62. Now let's look at some of these. The tackling grade on this team was not good. Jordan Scruggs had a 28.1 grade. He was a low. Eddie Vesteranen only tackled at a 23.1 tackle grade, 23.4 rather. He did not have his best game as a Mountaineer. Ashton Woods, 33.3 tackle grade. Reed Carrico, only a 29. So you see 2 of your middle linebackers have 2 of your lowest tackling grades. You can't have that. Cannot have that. Let's look and see where Chase Wilson ended up. He had a tackle grade of 61.5, so barely above average, which is not great either. He had a missed tackle. We also know Fred Perry having to leave the game early did not help. But this game really is not on the defense. The defense played good enough, in my opinion, to win for the most part, other than the second half when they just seemed like they were worn down and worn out. So, I really can't put this on them. Special teams played bad, gave up 2 or 3 really big kick returns, including a touchdown. Obviously, the offense kept going 3 and out, putting the defense in bad spots. But I'm not giving the defense a total pass. They've got to improve their tackling, and they've got to do it. They did give up. There were a lot of open guys on the field last night in passes. Fortunately, Jalen Daniels overthrew a lot of those guys. But there were a lot of guys open on several occasions in that secondary, or at least in the middle middle of the field. We know Michael Couz is doing his job, but overall the coverage grades are not great. I mean, he had a 79.3. Derek Carter had a 79.5. Everybody else is in the 60s or lower. Fred Perry had a 72.1 on 9 coverage snaps, but again, he didn't even stay in the game long. So coverage needs to do better, and the tackling needs to be better in the next game. But at the end of the day, I'm not putting this game on the defense. It's the offense and the special teams, in my opinion, who put this team in bad situations, in bad spots. And I'm of the opinion that is where they need to focus their attention. You've got to do something about the O-line, especially the right side of the O-line, and you have got to figure out a way to get better play out of the quarterback in the run game, whether that's trying somebody else or scheming things up differently or something. Because Nico he looks slower this year, and he looks like he's not seeing things as well as he did last year. And again, that could be because he's not trusting what he sees, because he's not confident in his O-line. So I think really the biggest issue right now is the offensive line. I think if you get that fixed, Nico will be a better quarterback. But if you can't fix it, you have to put somebody else back there who can kind of work around some of the O-line weaknesses. And it appears that's going to be the case. It appears the O-line is going to struggle, so you need a mobile quarterback back there that can make plays with his legs and try to outrun some of those. Create something out of nothing, so to speak. I'm not sure. I think that might be your only option here, if you're Rich Rod, because Nico's not going to have time to sit back there and throw the football the way it's looking right now. And they're not run blocking well either. And you've got Jaheen. And let's talk about injuries, man. So I know sometimes I say this in jest, but there is a part of me that can't help but wonder if this team is cursed at times. Jaheen White out for your overall offensive player that you're building the entire offense around, basically, out for the season. Your second best receiver out for the season. You have a running back that steps up and helps you, runs for 141 yards to help you beat your arch rival, your bitter rival. Then boom, he goes down with an injury. Can't play the next game after having to sue the NCAA to even be eligible. Then in the middle of this game, your starting center goes out with what appears to be a fairly serious injury. Where does it end, man? And I know injuries happen in football, but they seem to happen to West Virginia, to their key players at the worst possible times. And it seems to happen about every year. And for whatever reason, they don't have the depth. And it's 80 new players. I get that. I've talked about that. That's why I think we need to change our expectations. I'm planning a whole nother video on that, so stay tuned. 80 new players, there's not a ton of depth, obviously. That was also an issue with Neil Brown at times. Where do you get the help from with all these injuries? You're down to your third, fourth string in a lot of positions. And it happens to be the position where you need the most help because you have a struggling O-line. It's like, man, what gives? What gives? So we better hope and pray, keep our fingers crossed, whatever we do, that Ty Edwards is back for this game against Utah, or it could be a very long day in Morgantown. Now, I do expect him to play better because the game's at home. But Utah, even though they lost to Texas Tech, I still think Utah is a very good football team and could finish near the top of the conference. So let's go ahead and we're going to jump over just a second and talk about some good news for West Virginia. A new basketball commit that they landed today, a verbal commit. But first, I want to tell you guys about Swivel. Swivel is a browser extension that you can add to your browser that will allow you, and you can follow Couz's Corner over there, where you can access all of my content all in one place. Let's go ahead and see if I can show you my screen here. I'm going to take you over here to my homepage and let you see what it looks like. Scroll down here. You get all your Couz's Corner content. There's my YouTube stuff. There's my Instagram stuff. There's my X posts. There's some breaking news down here. It's not even my page, but it's breaking news in the sports world. But it's swivel.com, SWVLE.com. Go check it out. Look for me over there. Do a search, look for Couz. Find me, follow me, add this to your browser extensions, and you can access me right there. Look, and I even follow West Virginia University Athletics Department, where I can get their content right here on my home screen. So you can follow more than just me. You can follow other pages over there as well and find it all right there on your home screen when you open your computer without having to do anything. So go to swivel.com, SWVLE.com today. All right. Let's talk a little bit of Mountaineer basketball. Let's go ahead and I'm going to read an excerpt from the article that Shauna Rose did over at our site, WVSportsChat.com. And I'm also going to leave a link. It says, WVU lands 4-star commit Aliou Dioum. And I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's from the Senegal. But it says, Aliou Dioum, a 4-star prospect in the 2026 class, has announced his commitment to West Virginia University on Sunday afternoon. This was courtesy of Joe Tipton over at Tipton Edits. It says, 4-star Aliou Dioum has committed to West Virginia, he told Rivals. The 6'10 center is the number 80 overall recruit in the 2026 class. The 6'10 senior from Bella Vista Prep in Arizona ultimately chose Ross Hodge and the Mountaineers over Mississippi State, Syracuse, UNLV, and Wake Forest. His offer list also included Arizona State, Georgia Tech, Missouri, Ole Miss, and several others. According to the Rivals Top 150 player rankings, Dioum is the number 80 recruit in the 2026 class, and ESPN ranks him as the number 15 center in the 2026 class. He comes from Senegal originally and is known for being a strong defender in the paint. Dioum officially visited WVU on August 30th. So, shout out to Shauna Rose for the great article over there. And again, WVSportsChat.com is where you can find that and other stuff. Now, I watched a few highlights, didn't have time to dig super deep, and I also read some other breakdowns of this young man's game. Obviously, 4-star recruit is big. He's the first commit for the 2026 class for Ross Hodge and the Mountaineers. This young man runs the floor extremely well for a big. He's 6'10", but runs the floor like he's a smaller guy. Now, he does need to add some weight. He's very slim. But, once you get him into a Power 4 weight program and Power 4 nutrition program, he will put on weight. And look, he's not a great outside shooter or nothing, at least from what I've seen. He may not even be he's a decent mid-range shooter, but he's going to do his damage on the defensive end of the court, blocking shots, creating havoc around the rim and in the paint. And he's also going to help you around the basket, getting rebounds and putbacks and scoring around the rim on lobs. And the way he runs the floor and his ability to catch lobs, I could see him getting a lot of alley-oops in the future, especially off the pick and roll game. Ross Hodge loves to use that pick and roll game. I could see him coming up, setting a pick, rolling off of it, and getting a lob and going in for a slam dunk in this offense. That's what I see this young man on the offensive end. And I also see him run the floor well and getting easy baskets in the fast break as well. So I think he could be a huge help for this team. I'm going to pause for 1 second, y'all. My wife is texting me. This is the beauty of live TV. So stay tuned. I'm going to I'll go to a quick commercial break so I can answer my wife's text message. I'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Don't let one bad leg haunt your parlay. Parlays turn into payouts, and now even near misses won't haunt your bet. The NFL season is here, and college football is now in full swing, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is rewriting the rules with Ghost Leg, a new game-changing promotion that turns close calls into cold, hard cash. Best of all, it's available to all DraftKings customers. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Couz, that's code Couz, C-O-U-Z, to unlock Ghost Leg, the promotion that makes one bad leg disappear and pays you out in real cash. Ghost your losses. Get your payout in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Opt in for single-use token. Minimum 3+ legs and minus 500 odds per leg. Max bet varies. If only one leg of the bet loses, bet will settle as if only the winning legs were placed and pays out in cash based on odds when the bet was placed. See terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. All right, thank you for that. WVU Fan 13, who's a channel member here, with a respectful message, respectful disagreement here. He says, I have to push back on that, Couz, and this is going back to a football question, but actually, let me get to that in a second. I want to finish this basketball talk here. My mind's going 100 miles an hour here. Just to put a bow on this basketball recruit, he runs the floor well. He's going to create a lot of opportunities around the rim to score the basketball and to finish in the lane to get you rebounds. He can improve his shooting a little bit. He can help you in the mid-range game maybe. He can add some weight. He can give you somebody to protect the rim. And, we all hear about we need bigs. Well, guess what? The first recruit he gets in the 2026 class is a big. So Ross Hodge is out trying to recruit bigs, y'all. He's not giving up on that. And we beat out a bunch of really good programs for this young man's services. So we have to salute Ross Hodge and his team for that. Now, let's go and go back to talking football. WVU Fan 13 with a great comment here. He's a VIP channel member, as you see the badge beside his name. He says, I have to push back on that, Couz. Other teams have had some pretty significant injuries, either out for extended periods or even for the season. The difference between they have quality backups, and that's true. I think I kind of touched on this, but I probably should have said more. They've got to develop more depth. I mean, Rich Rod's got 80 new players, and it looks like they may have missed on a lot of them, at least on the surface. That or the guys just need more time to figure out how to play in this system. I don't know which it is. But, I mean, Phil Steele constantly talked about why he picked West Virginia to finish last in the league was because, yes, he's got new guys, but about close to half of them came in after spring ball. So they don't have a full spring in the system. And I think there's something to that. I think Phil Steele was onto something there. And, I think, and maybe I'm giving something away here for a future video, but a huge red flag to me was when Coach Rodriguez went out and had to add 6 guys from the portal during fall camp. Who does that? And by the way, I see Rose Courting in the chat, and I hope I pronounced your last name right, is the mother of Greg Genross, who's a tight end on the team. Thank you, Rose, for chiming in and for watching the show. I really appreciate it. I would love to see your son get more snaps. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure the reason, but hopefully he gets some opportunities later this year. But I do agree with you, WVU fan. The quality must not be there. So is Coach Rod and his staff missing on these guys? Have they just not had the time to develop them properly? What's the deal? I don't know the answer to that question, but maybe we'll get it soon. I don't know. Let's go ahead and get to some other comments here. I appreciate you all being patient. Let me get through my monologue. Pitt was a good win. Pitt isn't as bad as it looked against us. Pitt has some challenges coming up. Still can't believe Pitt versus Stanford is a conference game. That's from WVU Fan 13. Got Shaggy of WV, who's a VIP member, also here. He says, I agree, Earth Ether. I commented on that during the game last night. Our guys look small. They look like Division II players, not D1. And I think there was a former West Virginia media guy, I think his name's Mitch Vingle, I believe is who I saw put this out. I could be wrong, but I think that's who it is. He said that West Virginia looks small and slow compared to other teams. And that's shocking to me because one of the things Rich Rod focuses on is speed. He loves to have speed across the now we heard him say in press conference multiple times he'd like to have more team speed. I guess he just was not able to get it out of the portal this time. Now, could be a lot of reasons for that. He got hired kind of late in the portal cycle. Ren Baker took his time evaluating the candidate pool to make the right hire. And, West Virginia took longer to hire Coach Rod than a lot of other schools did to make their hires because Ren was trying to be extra thorough and go through the process. The downfall to that is you miss out. Sometimes it puts you behind the eight ball in getting guys to campus, getting guys on visits, and recruiting the portal. And maybe that was a negative. Maybe Ren took too long. I think that's a fair question to ask. There was some fans who criticized that. I was saying, hey, let him do his job. But now it's kind of got me wondering, man, did he wait so long that they missed out on guys in the portal? Get to some other comments. Whole team is out of shape. I don't think they're out of shape, Jeff. I just don't think they have the ability to. I think the Pitt game proved they're not out of shape. They were able to go into overtime and look fresh, and Pitt didn't. You got to remember, too, Kansas was coming off a bye week. West Virginia had to play, and I'm not making excuses. This is just facts. West Virginia was coming off a bye week. Kansas was coming off a bye week, and West Virginia just played a hard-fought overtime game against a rival. So it's not really a fair comparison there. What is it with people not actually wanting to tackle? It's fundamental football. We learned it in high school. You wrap up and tackle. Guys now are more wanting to hit. Yeah, there was one play last night where Kansas, may have been Jalen Daniels, was running down the field. A West Virginia defender comes up and basically tries to shoulder tackle the guy. Why would you do that? Jalen Daniels is a big dude. He's not going down on a shoulder tackle. Wrap your arms around him and put him on the ground, or at least attempt to. Again, like WVU Fan 13 says, it's fundamental football that you learn in grade school. I know it's easier said than done. But, man, I don't know what's up, man. Just tackle. That is one thing. Neil Brown's defenses under Jordan Leslie the last couple of years were horrible. But one thing they were good at was tackling because they worked out on it ad nauseum. I think maybe Rich Rod's defensive staff, needs to spend a little bit more time working on tackling or figure out a better way to do it. I don't know. But, again, I don't think the defense is the reason this team's struggling. I think it's more on the offense and the special teams. Son of Skeeter, 9917, says that Rich will have us at the top of the Big 12 by year 3. Take that to the bank. I hope you're right. I really do. Shaggy of WV says Rich Rod sucked in his first season at WVU the first time around, but the game is different now. You can compete in year 1 if you bring in the right players. Obviously, he did not, and that's a fair criticism. But I will remind you that it's very rare for a team, even in this era, to compete in year 1. There are a handful of exceptions, like Sonny Dykes at TCU. He took over a team that was left a lot of talent by Gary Patterson and a really good quarterback. You've got Kurt Signetti, who did Indiana. He did not bring in 80 transfer or 80 new players, 60-plus transfers. He brought in about 30 to 40, somewhere in that ballpark. And 12 of those came with him from James Madison. He also played a cake schedule, for what it's worth. But Kirk Signetti won. You can only play who's on your schedule, and he won most of those games. So can't fault him for that. Those are really the two most recent exceptions I can think of. Some people like to use Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham went 3-9 in his first year at Arizona State, y'all. It was year 2 that he turned around and went to the Big 12 championship and the playoff. Dion won 4 games in year 1 at Colorado. Now, this year we've got 2 examples along with West Virginia. You've got UCF with Scott Frost, who's now sitting at 3-0, but has not played a tough schedule. And you've got UNC, who UCF just beat, with Bill Belichick, who looks potentially worse than West Virginia does. Now, West Virginia and UCF actually play later this year. So we'll find out then maybe which team has progressed more and doing a better job. But right now, at least on paper, it looks like UCF's better than West Virginia. But again, they've played a totally different schedule, and they've played one less game. They actually they've already had a bye week. West Virginia doesn't get a bye week for about 3 more weeks now. WVU Fan 13 says Couz got in late after giving it a lot of thought. I think it's probably best that we hope for a 6-6 or more likely 5-7 season. Just too many things that need to be corrected. Now, I'm going to do a video on my new expectations for this team, or what maybe our expectations as fans should be for this team after last night's game. But I'm not going to give it too much away. Be on the lookout for that tomorrow. Daniel Gigax in the house. What's up, buddy? Thanks for joining the show. Island Boys asking if I enjoyed the comment. Patience is so Neil Brown. Well, Neil Brown was at West Virginia for 6 friggin' years, man. Rich Rod's been here for 3 games. Or 4 games. Comparing 6 years to 4 games is insane to me. It just use some common sense there, please. Son of Skeeter says it's the 4th game of the new coaching staff with 80 new players. Let's show a little bit of patience. Mountaineer guys in the house says, I wonder if this is more of a player problem or coaching problem. You'd think after a while the O-line would improve some. Fair question. I think I mentioned that. I'm starting to wonder that myself. Is Jack McNeil the right guy for the job? I think the verdict's still out on that. Let's see how they progress through the season. And why are they not willing to make substitution changes? If the backups are that bad, I'm worried about the next season or 2. Because if you got to go out and replace those guys next year, we're going to be doing this all over again. Patrick and Kerry Cottrell in the house. I wonder if these linemen look at these grades. I'm sure they do grades of their own. Jersey Ear says Carson Lee should have probably gotten more snaps this season. He has a ton of playing experience at EMU. Here's my now. Landon Livingston may be out for a while, and if he is, then Carson Lee's likely your starting center. But if he's not, if Landon Livingston is able to come back, why not try Landon Livingston at center and put Carson Lee as your right guard? Guard and center are usually interchangeable to a degree. Why can you not do that? When you're not getting production out of your right guard, he's been the worst performer game in, game out for the most part, at least according to PFF, which I know is not perfect. And I know there's a lot. The coaches are looking at different things than what PFF's looking at. I get it. But we can also see it with our eyes, right? If you're not getting to production out of a spot, change the spot. Put a new player in that spot. Now, look, Xavier Bosley was a player we all expected to play this year on the O-line. He's been injured. He showed up on the injury report. So now we know why maybe he's not been getting any more snaps or getting any snaps, actually. Maybe once he's back and healthy, maybe he steps in and gets some snaps for one of these guys. But is there not anybody else that can get some snaps, for crying out loud? Let me see what other comments we might have here. I'm not going to be able to get to all these, of course, but I will get to the ones, obviously, channel members, paid channel members will get. J. Lewis 85 says, what's up, Couz? Rich Rod will get it turned around. Going to take some time. Thank you. And by the way, he's a co-host over at the Bama Standard, where they cover Alabama football over there. Go check them out if you ever want to keep up with what's going on with Bama. We got Clint Moses, Scott Kessel in the house. We've got Pat's fan 4949. Why are we not going down the field with the football? I think it's because they don't have enough time to. Those deep passes take a lot more time to develop, and they're having to get rid of the football so quick they don't have time to go down the field. That's my theory. They've got to figure, but I agree, they have got to figure out a way to get Cam Vaughn the football. Let me go ahead and look at how many times Cam Vaughn was targeted. That's actually a really good question. I want to look at that. Receiving Cam Vaughn. All right, he had an overall grade of 50.4 in this game. Not good. 50.3 receiving grade, 62 point, and a 50.4 overall. He was targeted 5 times, tied for the most on the team with Jeff Weimer, but only had 2 receptions for 11 yards. They tried to get into football. There were a few times I think they even tried to force it to him. So he was tied for the team lead in targets with 5 in that game. In the Pittsburgh game, he was targeted 6 times, 3rd highest on the team behind Gallagher and Grayson Barnes. Had 3 receptions in the game. The Ohio game, Cam Vaughn was targeted 5 times. Second most on the team, tied for the second most with Clay Ash behind Jaden Bray, who was targeted 6 times. And then Robert Morris game, Cam Vaughn was targeted 8 times, had 7 receptions for 118 yards and 1 touchdown. But see, here's the thing. Teams are now going to focus on Cam Vaughn. They're not going to let Cam Vaughn beat them. There are a lot of good defensive coaches in the Big 12 and around the country. They're not going to let Cam, when they know Cam Vaughn's your best playmaker available because Jaheim White's out or Ty Edwards is out, what are they going to do? They're going to put man coverage on him with the corner, and they're going to have a safety over the top spying him or even double covering him. They're not going to let Cam Vaughn beat them over the top. And then you got an O-line that's not giving the quarterback enough time to throw the ball deep down the field either. It's just it's a terrible combination of things that are happening right now that's just not allowing them to get any significant success, have any significant success in the pass game. OBZN says minus maybe UCF. Our remaining components have looked very consistent. We haven't. Fair comment. WVU Fan 13 lists our schedule, and it gives his opinion on each one. Utah lost, BYU lost, UCF win, TCU lost, Houston win, Colorado win, Arizona State loss, Texas Tech loss. Puts us at 5-7. Pull out an extra home win, 6-6. And that's a fair assessment. Very fair assessment. Crystal doesn't see where the wins come from. OBZN says he thinks we're 4-8 or 5-7. Pitt does suck. I'll agree with that, Crystal. We've got Don Johnson in the house who says, I want to win now, but more than that, I want our program back on top, and I have full faith that Rich Rod will get us there. I do too. I'm still confident in Rich Rod. I'm not down on Rich Rod as a whole. Do I think he may have made, do I think he's missed on some guys in the portal? Absolutely. But when you bring in as many as he has, you're going to miss. Has he made some bad assistant coach hires? Maybe. But I think we'll find that out too as we go through the season. If this O-line doesn't progress and get better, I think maybe they need to start looking at the offensive line coach. I really do. Anthony Perry says, I feel like our frustration is higher because of coming off of 6 years of mediocre. Our patience is thin, but we honestly should be giving Rod time to turn this around. We just want to win now. And that's a fair assessment. And I think that's a lot of fans who feel that way. All right. I don't have a whole lot more to talk about. I've got some other videos in the works or planned for early this week before we turn the page and start talking Utah. I do obviously have a plan to bring my friend Wild Ute, who's over part of the College Football Mafia show. Utah's coming off a tough loss against Texas Tech at home, and where they pretty much got dominated in the fourth quarter. Obviously, West Virginia got dominated by Kansas for basically the entire game, especially the second half. I do plan to bring him on. We're going to preview the Utah game. Obviously, Jonathan and I will probably do our weekly Golden Blue Breakdown show. I do want to remind you that if you want to call and if you want to vent, and I will be doing my Couz call-in show. If you want to be featured on that, give me a call. Leave your question or comment on my voicemail at 304-712-9347. Leave your name and where you're calling from, and I will pick out the best voicemails and play them on a show. I'll likely be recording that show sometime tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. You can ask me a question. You can vent your frustrations, whatever. Get some stuff off your chest. Obviously, VIP channel members will get first priority, but other callers will get an opportunity as well. I really appreciate you tuning. Don't forget to hit the like button on the way out. If you're watching this on the replay, you can hype my video if you thought it was worthy of it. Hit that button. That also helps. I'm getting closer and closer to 10,000 subs. So please subscribe. Please share my stuff out with your family and friends. And don't forget, check us out over at wvsportschat.com, where you can find myself, Jonathan Martin, and others over there. We're putting up content every day. Recent article up on the new West Virginia Mountaineer basketball commit. Obviously stuff about football. We cover baseball pretty thoroughly over there as well. So check us out, wvsportschat.com, for your written content. We appreciate your support over there as well. Check us out on socials. Check me out on socials at Couz206 on X. I appreciate it. Thanks to our sponsor, Appalachia Digital. Thanks to DraftKings Sportsbook. And thanks to Swivel. I appreciate you tuning in. Hope the rest of your day or night is top shelf. God bless you. And Q Country Roads.